Hey guys, welcome back to my messy little workstation here. One of the things I'm going to be working on here in a little while, I just purchased everything for a whole new workstation here. We're going to be upgrading this iCore 5 Dell system to iCore 7 system. This one's really noisy, has some power issues and lots of noise, and it's a little bit outdated, so I'm upgrading to an all new system. We're going to be building a new desk, so look forward to a PC build and a desk build. I know those aren't instruments, but it all goes into what I do here to make these videos. And I'm back shooting today on the Hero 4, which is what I normally shoot on, and then I'm also doing audio right now with the Zune H4n. I always had trouble using Lightworks to get the audio and the video to line up and stay lined up. They would drift over time, and I think that had something to do with frame rate. I'm not sure, but using Adobe Premiere now. I'm going to try this out, see if it works any better. I'm still learning that software, so I'm just trying to build a system where audio and video all works much better, get a higher standard. So let's show you what we're working on today. So this is what we're working on right now. This is a guitar I'm building for a client. I did a design work on this, and then he decided he wanted me to do rough cutting on all these parts. So I'm just going to be rough milling these parts out and sending them out to him to finish up. So I like to start with the neck because I want to get a good neck and body fit. So he's got two necks, one's bird's eye maple, one's mahogany. I've got the stock in the shop. I don't have, well, I'm still working on stocking out the stock for the body here, but we're going to start working on these scarf joints for the neck, which is really kind of a cool thing to do. I'll show you how I leverage the CNC machine for a scarf joint. When we roll through these a little bit, you can see a little bit of this instrument. These are just renderings that I did in Fusion 360. And yeah, so let's hop into the AutoCAD side and see how we do some of these cuts. Okay, so here we are in Fusion 360. I've got the neck here, this part that we're gonna cut. So this has this scarf joint here, and that's one of the things that's kind of challenging on the CNC machine is cutting a scarf joint. So I'll show you how I do that. Now, generally I do a scarf joint where the scarf is actually cut through the part of the headstock. On this one, because there's this little feature back here, typically this would be cut into the stock and with very specific tooling. I could probably approximate it or do it by hand very easily, but I like to leverage the CNC as much as possible. So I'm going to show you how we do this scarf, and this is going to do the scarf where the scarf is out here on this section of the after the nut of the neck. So the first thing I do is I create a body that I use for the stock for creating the tool paths, and so that is this right here. It completely encapsulates it. It has this 17 degree neck angle, and I use that for just measuring out the stock and getting everything where it needs to be. Then we're going to need to cut the scarf, and I'll show you how I measure that out in the shop. And then let me get rid of this, we'll just look at this one. So once we get that cut and set up on the CNC machine, I'll show you how we do that. We're going to have to mill those surfaces with the CNC machine to get really parallel flat faces that we can sand the tool marks out of them and glue them up. So for that, I need another body, which I just have built here. This is bigger than the cut I need to do. And let me go down over here into manufacture, and I can show you the tool path. So then I just cut a parallel tool path here. Now this is going to leave a little bit of ridges from, this is a 1/2 inch bit that we're cutting with, but that's very easy to sand out a really flat surface. I get really flat surfaces that I can flip over and make a really nice glue joint out. So the first thing we got to do is go out there and get the stock set up. So let's go get some stock cut to dimension. Okay, it's good to be back. Those of you who've been subscribing, thank you for subscribing. We love the likes, we love the subscriptions, and trying to get out here to give you guys content every week. Hasn't been happening the last few weeks, so I'm back in it and trying to get stuck in on these necks here. we've got stock here that's at 1 inch, and first thing we need to do is bring this down to 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to head on over to the drum sander, and we are going to sand these down to. Okay, so got that thickness sanding gun. Just a couple of things to explain about doing the drum sander here. You probably saw that when I flipped the pieces, I always flipped them this way so that the inside piece stayed on the inside and the outside piece stayed on the outside. Because when I would flip them, I'd be sanding this surface, and when it's time to sand the other side, I'd flip them this way, and then from time to time I would invert them like this. So they're always kind of going through the drum sander in the same orientation. There's a couple of reasons for that. So with my drum sander, it's a very good machine, but no machine that's unsupported 18 inches out from the spindle is going to be dead on. So, and I'm talking about very tiny amounts here. But so I find that the outside is actually tighter and cuts a little bit more than the inside. And if I was to say just flip the part like this, then the thinner part would be here, and then I would get uneven cuts, and I'd be chasing myself all the time trying to get an accurate part. So that's the way I do it. And then at the end, it's extremely monotonous, but what I'm doing is I'm taking very, very tiny pieces out, tiny cuts, and I'm just trying to climb up so that I set my gauge up here to 3/4 of an inch, and I just kind of use it as a go no go gauge, right? Once I can get it to go in there, then I feel good. So these parts are really accurate. One of the things that if you can get your stock thicknesses perfectly thicknessed and at perfect dimension, it makes the CNC process amazingly easier. So that's one of the things that people never really talk about. I see a lot of people using drum sanders for building instruments online. They never really talk about the intricacies of using drum sanders. They're actually kind of tricky to figure out how to get good, consistent dimensions from. If you have some comments on that, I'd love to hear about it. If you got some input about something I'm doing different than you are, then let's talk about it. I'd love to see that. So now I've got a really good edge on this side. It's nice straight edge, and the mahogany is nice and straight on both sides. But this one is a little rough here, and when you do the flip for the scarf, you want to have two nice clean edges. So the reason I was using the drum sander, by the way, is that you'd say, why not go to the thickness planner? I mean, I'm taking a whole 1/4 of an inch out, right? And that would have been fine for the mahogany, but this bird's eye maple, it will chip out in a heartbeat on a planer. So I just like to drum sand it. I get a nice, I come down really slowly, I take a lot of time, and I get a nice precise part. Since I was doing this one anyways, I figured I might as well just do them together. They were the same dimension, they're going to the same dimension, they're being made into the same part. So that's why I did that. So I'm gonna take this over to the joiner. Now I just said the bird's eye just trips out like crazy, right? So the way that you get around chipping bird's eye on a joiner is very small cuts and very slow speeds. So I'm just gonna go do that off camera really quick, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got two nice edges on both of them. I'm gonna go ahead and mark these up to where I'm gonna cut at 17-degree angle, and then we'll go over to the bandsaw and cut it out. So we got those cut, and then the next thing we do is just flip them over like this, and I'll show you how I attach this piece to here and attach this piece to the CNC machine. I'm running short on time this week. I think this is all I'm going to be able to get. I'll keep working on this and show you guys how to do the rest of this. Thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. I'll try to get more videos out for you. Have a good night.